Hi, one of the Oscar contenders that I watched recently was Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, directed by George Wolfe and based on the play rather, by August Wilson. It's the fictionalized story of a studio recording by Ma Rainey, the Queen of the Blues, um, back in the 1920s, and is about the various backroom relationships between her band and her relationship with the management and record company that she was working for. It's quite timely in many ways, being a story of black labour seeking to be adequately recompensed for its work, and particularly a black woman. And uh, the, the problem with the film is that it's based on a play, and the play there seems to have been very little attempt to open the story out. It's all based very claustrophobically in this one building. The staging is uninteresting, and the direction is quite poor. The film's strength should have been its acting, and we have two very charismatic, frantic performances from Viola Davis's Ma Rainey and Chadwick Boseman as one of the trumpet player in the band. But there's very little depth to the characters. Um, there are intimations that intimations, it's pretty much stated flat out that Rainey is, if not bisexual, then gay. She brings her young girlfriend to the recording, but the girlfriend then cheats on her with the trumpet player, who has great ambitions of having a band of his own and talks about um, his upbringing and how his father was killed by racists. And all of this is, none of it strikes me as particularly original and fresh. And maybe that's the point, that it's that this racist culture, this racist situation was so all pervasive, but the characters are so shallow and sort of lacking in nuance. There's very little to balance out the elements that we see to make them feel more like real people. Boseman's performance is good. He's been widely tipped to win the Best Actor Oscar, but I think that it's largely because of the promise of a career that could have been. He died last year of cancer, having potentially been a major performer in films in the years to come. So I think the Oscar is not necessarily being awarded for this performance, but rather for the performances that he might have given in the future. As I say, it's not a bad performance. It's just that the writing is not supporting him. The characters have very little depth. The situation feels far too constrained, unlike a lot of plays adapted for the cinema. It's not opened out in any way. There's no sense of broader scale. And there are scenes where characters deliver lengthy monologues, which are just focused on pointing the camera at the actor's face, where instead you could have opened it out and had flashbacks and had the monologue working as narration to describe a scene that we see played out on screen. There's no attempt at that at all. It just feels very small and tight and enclosed and frankly somewhat unimaginative. Although it's a well acted film, I really couldn't say that there's very much more to it than that. And even then, the acting is fighting against the writing. So it's not one of my picks of the year by some distance.